Today we are going to talk about programming languages, a few of the different kinds and how they work. Programming languages are formal languages that are concise and do exactly as they are written. The first type or class of programming languages are interpreted languages. These are the highest languages. A few examples of interpreted languages are Python, Basic, Perl, and Java. Interpreted languages are easy for beginners, but they come at a disadvantage of speed and performance because of how the code is ran, which goes through an interpreter, which runs line by line, and converted to bytecode. Because of the interpreter, a special discipline is needed to debug or run the code to see if any errors exist. Because they run line by line, errors can exist if the bad line doesn't get sent to the interpreter. This is important to remember, but it's easy to find and fix. Interpreted languages are also the most portable, which means it can run on multiple devices with very little change, if any, which is what we call war/war. More on that later. The next class under interpreted languages are high-level languages. These are languages like C or C++, or even Java if it's compiled. These are intermediate to learn, but these languages are faster than interpreted languages because they are written by a compiler. A compiler, unlike an interpreter, takes the entire source code and converts it to machine code, instead of running it line by line and using bytecode. These languages are a little more difficult to work with than interpreted languages, but these are generally used and works on many devices and found everywhere. C/C++ is Boca, which means write once, compile anywhere, which means you can write the code on one operating system and put the code on another operating system and compile it just fine and it will make it an object file, or as it is mostly known, an executable file. Java and other interpreted languages are war/war, which means write once, run everywhere, or write once, run anywhere. Before anyone gets mad at me and starts bashing me in the comments, operating systems like Windows, Mac OS X, or Linux are only part of what makes compiling work, which we're going to talk in this segment. Now we have our low-level languages. These are assembly/compiler and machine code. Technically, assembly is higher than machine code, as assembly needs to be compiled to machine code, but to keep things simple, it will be put here. Assembler and assembly are interchangeable in many cases, but it's good to know that the assembler is assembly's compiler. These are more advanced, difficult. They are processor specific, which means they aren't as portable, and processor specific is mostly what makes compiling work. More processors in a future episode, and these languages are very fast and efficient. But it's also easy to break things, hardware-wise. One of the big reasons of this is because higher languages have safety mechanisms to protect you or better your hardware. There's more than this in these classes, but these are the basic principles in it. Some final things. When you hear machine code or machine language, we aren't talking about binary which are zeros and ones. We are talking about hex. The processor is also known as the CPU, or Central Processing Unit, or the brain of the computer. Well, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned on Tuesday to get started with Python and how to make our first program. See you later, YouTube.